Hi, and welcome to today's art class, where we talk a little bit more about what happened after the Renaissance period. Just to adjust my screen a little bit. After the Renaissance period, art went through three lesser-known periods, those of Mannerism, Baroque, and Neoclassicism. Now, we'll talk first about Mannerism. Mannerism is also known as late Renaissance, and it's a style in European art that emerged in the later years of the Italian High Renaissance around 1520, spreading by about 1530 and lasting until the end of the 16th century in Italy. Then the Baroque style largely replaced it, and we'll come to Baroque in a few minutes. Northern Mannerism continued into the early 17th century. Now, stylistically, Mannerism encompasses a variety of approaches influenced by and reacting to harmonious ideals associated with artists such as Leonardo da Vinci, Raphael, and early Michelangelo stuff. Where High Renaissance art emphasizes proportion, balance, and ideal beauty, Mannerism exaggerates such qualities, often resulting in compositions that are asymmetrical or unnaturally elegant. The style is notable for its intellectual sophistication, as well as its artificial, as opposed to naturalistic, qualities. This artistic style privileges compositional tension and instability rather than the balance and clarity of early Renaissance painting. Mannerism in literature and music is notable for its highly florid style and intellectual sophistication. Now, the definition of Mannerism and the phases within it continues to be the subject of much debate among art historians. For example, some scholars have labeled or applied the label to certain early modern forms of literature and music from the 16th and 17th century. The term is also used to refer to some late Gothic painters working in Northern Europe from about 1500 to 1530, especially the Antwerp Mannerists, a group unrelated to the Italian movement. Mannerism has also been applied by analogy to the Silver Age of Latin literature. Now, many people don't really talk about Mannerism, but it's something you should note for your studies. After Mannerism, we move on to a slightly better known topic or area called the Baroque period. Now, at its height in Rome, from around 1630 to 1680, Baroque is particularly associated with the Catholic counter-revolution. Its dynamic movement, bold realism, gives viewers the impression that they're witnessing an actual event, and direct emotional appeal were ideally situated to proclaiming the reinvigorated spirit of the Catholic Church. Although originating in Rome, Baroque was influential across the whole of Europe. It was also used to depict many non-religious themes and can be seen in portraits, still lifes, as well as mythical subjects. Greatest exponents include sculptor and architect Bernini in Rome, and in Northern Europe, Sir Peter Paul Rubens, whose ceiling decorations, commissioned by Charles Stuart for the Banqueting Hall in London, are still in place today. Rubens' great pupil, Sir Anthony van Dyck, also worked in the Baroque style in Britain and was Charles' court painter from 1632 till his death in 1641. British followers include William Dobson, Sir Peter Lilly, Jacob Huysmans, Sir Godfrey Kneller, and painters of wall and ceiling decorations such as Antonio Verrio and Sir James Thornhill. Now, this was a very short period, and it moved very quickly into something we call today Neoclassicism. Neoclassicism is a hard word to say, but it comes from the 18th and 19th century movement that developed in Europe as a reaction to the excess of Baroque and Rococo. The movement sought to return to the classical beauty and magnificence of ancient Greece and the Empire of Rome. Neoclassical art is based on simplicity and symmetry and takes its inspiration from the German art historian Joachim Winckelmann. Oh, what a name! Who believed that art should aim at the ideal forms and beauty of Greek art. As he wrote, the one way for us to become great, perhaps inimitable, is by imitating the ancients. Now, the revival of artistic canons of classical art and antiquity came from the admiration of Renaissance art, as well as Enlightenment and the earlier classical painting of the French artist Nicolas Poussin, as well as from dissatisfaction towards Rococo and towards the overwhelming Baroque style. Whereas Romantic artists sought to paint the cruelty and the vitality of action, neoclassical painters wanted to depict the beauty and the harmony of the subject. They combined the idealistic style with perspective with drama and forcefulness, according to Winckelmann's definition of the movement, as noble simplicity and calm grandeur. Neoclassical works, therefore, are serious, unemotional, and heroic. Restraint and simplicity, along with precise depiction and close congruence of clear form and noble content, are the main characteristic of Neoclassicism. Neoclassicism was developed in Rome at first, but its popularity spread throughout Europe during the 18th century due to the Grand Tour, the trip in which European students traveled around the continent. At that movement, the great collections of antiquities began to be discovered and reevaluated, and a neoclassical revival spread throughout Europe. Many European art students who had made the Grand Tour, in fact, returned to their country from Italy with their rediscovered Greek-Roman ideals. The neoclassical movement involved the decorative and visual arts, literature, theatre, music, and architecture. And it continued to evolve until the late 19th century, when it started to compete against movements of Romanticism. We'll move on to Romanticism in the next class. Thank you for listening.